Can I tell you what I've been noticing? And I need you to tell me I'm not crazy. Because this has been happening so consistently that I'm starting to think it's not coincidence anymore. It's like watching a glitch in the Matrix, except the glitch is human behavior, and it keeps repeating. So here's what's been going on. You know those people? The ones who went out of their way to distance themselves from you? The ones who made it very clear that everything about you was too much, too weird, too different, too intense? The ones who mocked your interests, rolled their eyes at your opinions, made you feel like you needed to apologize for existing? Yeah, those people. I've been watching them lately, and something really strange is happening. They're turning into you, not obviously, not in a way that they can see, but everyone else is watching this transformation happen in real time and trying not to laugh, trying not to stare, trying not to point out what's becoming impossible to ignore. Let me break this down for you because the details are what make this so deliciously weird. Remember how they used to make fun of the way you dressed? That specific style that was too much or trying too hard or whatever dismissive thing they said to make you feel like you needed to blend in more? Look at their recent photos. No, seriously. Go look, I'll wait. You're seeing it too, right? That's not inspiration. That's not similar taste. That's a photocopy. That's them wearing your aesthetic like a Halloween costume, except they're wearing it in July and pretending they invented it. The color palettes you gravitated toward, they're suddenly all over their wardrobe. The accessories you wore that they called weird, now they're vintage finds in their collection. The silhouettes you loved that they said didn't make sense, apparently they make perfect sense now that they're wearing them. But here's the thing that makes this transcend from funny to absolutely fascinating. They don't remember making fun of you for it. Or if they do remember, they've convinced themselves it's different when they do it. They've rewritten the history in their minds so thoroughly that they genuinely believe this style just naturally evolved in them, completely independent of your influence. The cognitive dissonance is Olympic level. But wait, it gets better. You know those phrases you used to say? Those specific combinations of words that were uniquely yours? The way you'd describe things, the metaphors you'd use, those little linguistic fingerprints that made your speech pattern recognizable, they're in their mouths now. I've heard them in conversations, seen them in their captions, watched them deploy your verbal tics like they've always been part of their vocabulary. And every time it happens, there's this moment, this beautiful, awkward moment where someone in the room who knows both of you makes eye contact with someone else who knows, and you can see them both thinking the same thing. Did they just... Yes. Yes, they did. They're quoting you without citation. They're using your language like it's public domain. They're speaking in your voice and have somehow convinced themselves it's their own. I watched one of them explain a concept to a group using almost your exact words. Words they definitely heard you say first. Words they probably dismissed or ignored when you said them, and present it like original thought. And the wildest part? They were so confident, so certain, so completely unaware that they were performing an impression of someone they claimed to have outgrown. But it's not just aesthetics and vocabulary. It's the interests. Oh my God. The interests. The hobbies they called pointless when you talked about them. Suddenly they're really into that. The music genres they said were not their style. That's all they listen to now. The books, the movies, the entire cultural landscapes they dismissed as beneath them or too niche or not worth their time, they're fluent in all of it now. And they're not just casually familiar. They've gone deep. They've adopted these interests with the fervor of a recent convert, which I guess they are, except they don't recognize the religion they've converted to. They don't see that they're practicing in a temple you built. I saw one of them give a passionate explanation about something you introduced them to years ago, something they openly mocked you for caring about, and they were explaining it to someone else like they were the expert, like they discovered this obscure thing through their own sophisticated taste, like you didn't spend hours trying to get them to understand why it mattered. The historical revisionism is honestly impressive. But you want to know where this gets really psychological? It's in the mannerisms, the way you laugh, the way you gesture when you're telling a story, the way you tilt your head when you're thinking, the specific way you express excitement or skepticism or disbelief. I've seen these physical behaviors migrate into their bodies. It's uncanny. It's like watching someone unconsciously learn a dance they swore they'd never perform. Their body language is slowly morphing into yours, and they're completely unaware it's happening. Friends who've known both of you have mentioned it. Quietly, in private. With that tone people use when they're describing something that feels a little bit supernatural. Have you noticed that their name is starting to move like, okay, so I'm not the only one seeing this. Is it just me? Or are they basically doing an impression at this point? These conversations are happening in group chats. They're not at gatherings they don't attend. In the margins of social situations where people are trying to be polite but can't help noticing the uncanny mimicry. And the thing is, and this is where it shifts from amusing to something else entirely, they seem to be doing it without any awareness of the source material. It's not deliberate imitation. That would almost be flattering in a weird way, right? Like at least they'd be acknowledging your influence. No, this is something stranger. This is absorption. This is unconscious integration. This is their psyche cannibalizing aspects of yours, because apparently despite all their protest, despite all their efforts to distance themselves, despite all their claims that you were too different or too much, you were the blueprint they secretly wanted to follow. And now they're following it without a map, without directions, without even recognizing the territory they're walking through. Let me tell you about the reactions I've been seeing from mutual acquaintances, because this is where it gets really good. People are noticing. Oh, they're noticing. And at first they're confused. There's this period where they can't quite put their finger on what's different, what's changed, why this person suddenly seems familiar in a way they shouldn't. Then it clicks. And once it clicks, they can't unsee it. I've watched people's faces go through this realization in real time. There's the squint, the mental comparison, the moment of wait a second, and then impact, recognition, the sudden understanding that they're watching a live-action cover band perform someone else's greatest hits. Some people find it funny. They'll make subtle jokes, little references that fly over the copycat's head, but land perfectly with anyone who knows the truth. Inside jokes about where we've seen this before, comments about originality delivered with just enough edge to sting if you're paying attention. But some people find it disturbing, because there's something uncanny valley about watching someone become someone else without realizing it. There's something psychologically unsettling about witnessing identity theft, where the thief doesn't know they're stealing, and the victim is standing right there watching it happen. It raises questions people don't want to ask out loud. How much of personality is actually original? How much of who we are is just absorbed from people we've been close to? And if someone can unconsciously absorb this much from someone they claim to dislike, what does that say about the strength of the original personality? What does that say about yours? Because here's what I think is really happening. If you didn't just influence them, you infected them. Not in a malicious way, but in the way that strong personalities infect the space around them. In the way that people with clear self-definition create a gravitational pull that others orbit around, even when they're trying to escape. They spend so much time in your presence, so much energy defining themselves in opposition to you, so much focus on what made you different from them, that they accidentally studied you. They memorized you while trying to differentiate from you. And now, years later, with distance and time, all that suppressed familiarity is surfacing. They're not consciously choosing to be like you. They're just becoming. And the becoming looks suspiciously like a person they used to know. You. The really wild part? They probably think they're evolving. They probably feel like they're growing into their authentic selves, discovering who they really are, shedding old limitations and embracing new possibilities. And technically, they're right. They're just not aware that the new possibilities they're embracing are old realities. You were already living. They're discovering themselves by accidentally discovering you. They're becoming authentic by becoming a version of someone else. The irony is so thick, you could build a house with it. I've seen them post things about finally feeling like myself while dressed exactly like you used to dress. I've watched them talk about finding my voice while speaking in cadences I distinctly remember you using. I've observed them celebrate breaking free from who people expected me to be, while conforming to a template you designed years ago. And nobody wants to be the person who points it out directly. Because what do you even say? Hey, you know you're basically cosplaying your former friend's entire personality, right? Just FYI, you've become a tribute act. Congratulations on your transformation into someone else's past self. You can't say these things. So instead, people just watch and whisper and exchange knowing looks when the similarities become too obvious to ignore. But here's what I want you to understand. This isn't about them anymore. This stopped being about them the moment the mimicry became visible to everyone else. Now it's about what this reveals about you. Because people don't unconsciously copy weakness. They don't absorb mediocrity. They don't accidentally integrate traits from people who don't have something worth taking. The fact that they're becoming you, even while claiming they moved on from you, even while maintaining that you were never that important to them, even while constructing entire narratives about how different you were, that's proof. Proof that you were the main character in a story they were trying to pretend was an ensemble cast. Proof that your personality had enough gravitational pull to alter their orbit even after they left your atmosphere. Proof that everything they criticized about you was actually everything they secretly wanted to embody but couldn't figure out how to access while you were still around. They needed you gone to become you. They needed distance to start the transformation, because proximity would have made the copying too obvious, too uncomfortable, too laden with acknowledgement that you had something they wanted. So they left. They distanced. They drew boundaries and made declarations and ensured everyone knew they were different from you, better than you, evolved beyond you. And then slowly, quietly, unconsciously, they started the impression. Do you know what the psychological term for this is? It's called identification with the aggressor in some contexts, but that's not quite right here. This is more like identification with the departed. They're mourning a connection by becoming the person who left. They're processing loss by inhabiting the space the lost person occupied. Except they're not aware they're mourning. They think they're celebrating. They think they're winning. And maybe in their version of the story, they are. But in the version that everyone else is watching, the version with all the context, all the history, all the before and after comparisons, you already won. You won so thoroughly that they're giving you the ultimate compliment. Without realizing it, they're living proof that your way of being was worth copying, your style was worth stealing, your voice was worth echoing. You were the trendsetter, and they're the trend. You were the original, and they're the reproduction. You were the source code, and they're running your program on their hardware, claiming it's an original operating system. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to say anything. What? You don't have to point it out. You don't have to call them out. You don't have to make a dramatic confrontation where you list all the ways they've become you. Because everyone else is already seeing it. Everyone else is already having the conversations, making the observations, drawing the comparisons. The evidence is walking around in public, wearing your old personality like vintage clothes. You just get to exist, knowing that the person who tried so hard to distance themselves from you couldn't escape your influence even when you weren't trying to exert any. You get to watch them perform your greatest hits while you're already working on new material. You get to see them live in your past while you're building your future. And occasionally when you're scrolling through social media or hearing stories through mutual friends, you get to experience that specific satisfaction that comes from being proven right in the most unexpected way possible. Not by succeeding in ways they said you wouldn't. Not by achieving things they claimed were impossible. But by being so undeniably yourself that even the people who rejected you couldn't help but absorb pieces of who you were. That's the whispered confession. That's what I've been noticing. That's what we've all been watching in real time, trying not to laugh, trying not to stare, trying not to create an entire group chat just to document the ongoing transformation. And now that I've said it out loud, now that it's been named, you can't unsee it either. Huh? Every time you see them now, every photo, every post, every second-hand story about what they're doing or how they've changed or who they've become, you'll see the mirror. You'll see the echo. You'll see the copy that doesn't know it's copying, and you'll smile, because you'll know something they don't. Imitation might be flattery, but unconscious imitation? That's domination. Welcome to the victory you didn't even know you were fighting for.
You ever lie there at night and just stare at the ceiling and think, why did they do me like that? Not just a passing thought, not just a quick sigh, but that deep, ugly, chest-heavy question that does lapse in your mind. Why did the people you would have gone to war for turn around and shoot first? Why did the ones you trusted with your heart handle it like it was disposable? You would have gone broke for them. You would have answered every call. You would have showed up at 3 a.m. without hesitation. And what did they do? They watched you drown and took notes. You gave them your time. You sacrificed your peace. You lowered your standards just to keep them close. You saw their wounds and said, I can handle that. I can love you through it. But when it was your turn, when you were the one bleeding, they acted like your pain was an inconvenience, like your feelings were drama, like your tears were exaggeration. And that right there, that's not just disappointment. That's betrayal. That's a knife in the back from the very hands you were holding up. They don't break you when you're cold. They break you when you're warm. They don't stab you when you're guarded. They stab you when your walls are down and your arms are open. You thought loyalty meant safety. To them, it meant access. They clocked everything about you, your triggers, your hopes, your fears, your soft spots. And instead of honoring them, they weaponized them. They turned your heart into a map and still chose the path that hurt you most. And then, when you finally pull back, when you go quiet, when you stop bleeding on command, they look at you and say, "You've changed." Like that's some accusation, like you're supposed to stay soft after they burned you alive. They start telling people, "He's different now. He's cold. He's distant. He's not the same." No, you're not the same. You're not supposed to be. That version of you didn't survive what they did. Here's the twist, kid. This is where the story turns. They want to call you the villain now. They want to act like you woke up one day and decided to be heartless, but they don't talk about the nights you cried into your pillow, swallowing screams just so they wouldn't feel guilty. They don't mention the times you put their happiness above your sanity. They don't mention the 1,000 chances you gave them after the first betrayal. No, that part never makes it into their story. So fine. If they're going to paint you as the monster, you might as well grow fangs. Not the kind that hurt people for fun, not the kind that lashes out at innocence, but the kind that says never again. The kind that refuses to be used, drained, and discarded. The kind that doesn't flinch when someone walks away, because you finally understand that not everyone who leaves is a loss. The monster they fear is just you with boundaries. You saying no, you not answering every call, you not jumping every time they snap their fingers, you not staying when your soul is screaming to leave. They called it attitude, they called it ego, they called it coldness, but it's survival. It's self-respect finally taking the wheel. You ever notice how they only show up when they need something? How they go weeks, months without checking on you, but the second they feel lonely, the second life slaps them, your name magically appears in their notifications. "Hey, stranger, I've been thinking about you." "No, you haven't. You've been thinking about what I can do for you." That late night text isn't care, it's convenience. That sudden concern isn't love, it's access. You used to answer. You used to drop everything. Didn't matter if you were tired, broken, busy, or empty, you showed up because that's who you are. You thought being loyal meant never walking away. You thought real love meant staying even when it hurt. You thought patience would eventually earn you respect, but all it earned you was exhaustion. So now it's different. Now the phone rings and you let it ring. Now the message comes and you leave it on read. Now they knock and you don't open, not because you're bitter, but because you finally see the pattern, because you finally understand that some people don't miss you. They miss what you did for them. And once you stop doing it, they suddenly don't recognize you. Good. Let them not recognize you. Let them look at you and see a stranger. Let them meet the version of you that they built with every lie, every half-truth, every disappearing act. They didn't think their actions had consequences. They thought you'd always be there, no matter how many times they shattered you. They thought you'd keep putting your heart back together just so they could break it again. Not anymore. This monster you're becoming, it's not evil. It's focused. It's not cruel. It's calculated. You're not looking for revenge. You're not plotting their downfall. You're just done being the soft landing for people who pushed you off cliffs. You're done being the therapist for people who never asked how you were doing. You're done being the loyal one in rooms full of opportunists. They will say you're selfish now. They will say you fell off. They will say you switched up. What they won't say is, I took advantage of him. I played with his loyalty. I knew he'd always be there, so I stopped showing up for him. They won't say that. but you know the truth. Deep down, they do too. Here's something raw. Some of them never planned to stay. They walked into your life already knowing they'd leave once they got the comfort, the validation, the attention, the stability. It was never we. It was always me. You were the safe space. You were the soft place to land. You were the backup plan, the emergency exit, the emotional charger. And when they were fully charged, they unplugged you like nothing. And you blamed yourself. You sat there replaying every conversation, every argument, every moment, wondering what you could have done better, what you said wrong, where you failed. But you didn't fail. They did. They failed the one soul that would have gone to the ends of the earth for them. They failed the one person who meant every word, every promise, every "I got you." That's why this monster is necessary. Not the kind that destroys everything, the kind that protects what's left, the kind that doesn't let just anyone in, the kind that understands that love without boundaries is not love, it's self-destruction. The kind that knows silence is sometimes stronger than 1,000 explanations. You don't need to defend yourself anymore. You don't need to prove your side. You don't need to clear your name in rooms you'll never step into again. The people who matter will feel the shift. They'll see that you're not colder, you're clearer. You're not angrier, you're awake. The real ones will understand that you didn't become a monster. You became protected. They'll talk. Of course they will. They'll twist the story. They'll water down their role and magnify your reaction. They'll make it look like you exploded out of nowhere, like you turned dark for no reason. Let them. Let them build their little narratives. Let them tell lies to people just as temporary as they are. You're not here to chase rumors. You're not here to correct every fake version of the story. You're here to heal. You're here to rise. You're here to rebuild a life where your trust is no longer handed out like candy to people with rotten teeth. You're here to give your loyalty to those who actually bleed for you too, not just bleed you dry. One day they'll feel it, not regret for hurting you. Some of them never feel that, but that emptiness, that hollow space where your energy used to be. They'll scroll through their contacts and realize the one person who always answered is gone. They'll get hit with life and realize the one soul who would have stood 10 toes beside them is nowhere to be found. They'll feel that silence like thunder, and you'll be somewhere else, not above them, not below them, just far from them. Building quietly, healing slowly, loving carefully. You'll be smiling in ways you couldn't around them, breathing in ways you never could when you were constantly bracing for the next betrayal. Understand this. You didn't become a monster because you're cruel. You became a monster because the world kept feeding on your softness, because people took your kindness as a weakness, your patience as permission, your loyalty as something guaranteed. Now they're confused that you've changed the terms, that your heart now comes with conditions, that your peace now has a price. So no, you're not going back. You're not reopening doors that nearly destroyed you. You're not handing out second chances to people who squandered the first 10. You're not shrinking so they can feel tall again. The old you died when they broke your trust. The new you rose from the ashes, sharper, steadier, quieter. Call it a monster if you want. Call it a villain. Call it whatever helps them sleep at night. But you know what it truly is. It's you finally choosing yourself. It's you finally protecting what's left of your heart. It's you walking away from the fire they lit and building something beautiful out of the burn marks. Let them tell people you changed. Let them whisper that you're not the same because they're right. you're not. You are not the soft target you once were. You are not the easy access you once gave. You are not the quiet, obedient version of you that tolerated disrespect just to avoid being alone. You are the monster they forced you to become when they shattered your trust. Not a monster that hunts, but a monster that guards. Not a monster that destroys, but a monster that refuses to be destroyed again. And that, kid, that is your power now. Walk with it, own it, and never apologize for the beast that was born from the ruins they left you in. Let me tell you something. They didn't just break your trust. They broke the version of you that believed trust was permanent. They shattered the part of you that thought loyalty guaranteed loyalty back. And yeah, that hurts. It feels like somebody reached inside your chest and ripped something out with bare hands. But beneath that pain, under all that confusion and anger, something else woke up. Something they never wanted you to meet. Your power. You used to explain yourself, didn't you? You used to over-talk, over-justify, over-prove. You wanted them to understand your heart so badly that you'd pour it out in essays and paragraphs, voice notes and midnight calls. You thought if they just understood your intentions, they wouldn't hurt you like that. You thought if they knew how much you cared, they would be careful. But they knew exactly how much you cared. They just didn't value it. And that's the shift right there. The monster they forced you to become is the version of you that realizes not everyone deserves understanding. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Not everyone deserves front row seats to your emotions. Some people only deserve one thing from you now. Distance. You used to see distance as punishment. Now you see it as protection. You used to think walking away makes you cold. Now you understand it makes you sane. They trained you to believe that choosing yourself is selfish. But choosing yourself is the only reason you're still here. Because if you kept choosing them over you, you would have disappeared slowly, piece by piece. Smile by smile, until nothing was left but an empty shell who remembers what love used to feel like. That's not your fate anymore. You're not here to be anyone's emotional crutch. You're not here to be anyone's backup option. You're not here to be the second choice, the safe option, the when everything else fails, I know they'll still be there person. No, that role is dead. You buried it the day your trust snapped like a rope pulled too tight. This monster, this darker version of you, doesn't move from emotion first. It moves from awareness. You notice who checks in when they don't need something. You notice who only reaches out when life hits them. You notice who celebrates you and who competes with you. You notice who claps when you win and who goes quiet. You're not paranoid anymore. You're observant. They'll say you overthink, but overthinking is just your intuition replaying all the scenes you ignored, all the jokes that weren't really jokes, all the "I didn't mean it like that" comments that you felt in your chest anyway. You used to gaslight your own gut to keep them comfortable. Now, you listen to it. You trust your body when it tenses. You trust your spirit when it goes silent in certain rooms. Because that's another thing. You're done forcing yourself into spaces where your soul doesn't feel safe. You're done laughing at things that bother you just so you don't kill the vibe. You're done dimming your energy just so other people don't feel small. They felt big while standing on your back. They felt powerful while stepping on pieces of you that were still bleeding. That era is finished. Monsters aren't born from happiness. They're born from repetition. The same pain on repeat. The same betrayal wearing different faces. The same broken promises dressed up in pretty words. You kept thinking maybe the next one will be different. But they weren't, and that's when the monster in you stopped wanting to be chosen. Now it wants to choose. Carefully, deliberately, slowly. You don't rush into circles now. You study them. You don't tell people your whole life story in the first week anymore. You give them sentences and watch how they hold them. You don't show all your scars right away. You wait and see if they can even handle your truth, because you learned that people love the idea of you. They love the version of you that heals them, uplifts them, forgives them, entertains them. But when it's time to hold you, they crumble. So now your monster doesn't roar. It withdraws. It's not loud. It's selective. It doesn't beg to be heard. It goes quiet and observes. And that quiet, that shift in you terrifies them. You know what scares a user more than anything? A supply that cuts off. A heart that no longer opens on command. A soul that used to say, "It's okay," now saying, "No, I'm done." They don't know what to do with that. They were never prepared for the day your softness stopped being convenient. So they do the only thing they know how to do. They play victim. They say you turned dark. They say you switched up. They say you're not who you used to be. And they're right. You're not. Because who you used to be was a version of you that was willing to die emotionally just so people with empty hands didn't feel lonely. Listen, this version of you doesn't hate love. It just stopped worshiping it blindly. It doesn't hate people. It just stopped needing them to survive. You've learned how to sit with yourself. You've learned how to sit in silence and not feel like you're suffocating. You've learned that your own company, while heavy at first, is lighter than pretending you're okay around people who don't see you. You went from asking, "Why did they do this to me?" to asking, "Why did I stay after the first sign?" That's what monsters do when they evolve. They stop studying the knife and start studying the hand that held it. Then they study themselves, not to blame, but to understand. Because once you understand, you don't repeat. You don't volunteer your heart to the same lesson over and over again. You know what the real transformation is? It's not the moment you cut them off. It's the moment you stop needing answers. It's when you no longer crave the apology, when you stop rehearsing what you'd say if they came back, when you finally accept that some people sleep just fine after hurting you. You stop waiting for remorse from hearts that never had room for it. The monster they forced you to become doesn't sit by the phone anymore. It doesn't check who watched the story. It doesn't read into breadcrumbs like it's a full meal. It doesn't chase energy that goes missing every time you need it. It knows that disappearing acts are not confusion. They're clarity. They're answers. And answers don't need follow-up questions. You start investing your energy differently into your craft, into your growth, into your body, mind, spirit, into people who actually reciprocate, into spaces where your name is safe when you're not around, into conversations that feed you, not ones that drain you. You go from trying to prove your worth to those who mishandled it, to protecting your worth from ever being mishandled again. They may still talk. They may still circle around. They may still test the door. They always do. They'll pop back up when life gets dark for them, when karma pulls receipts, when the world stops giving them the attention they used to get. Suddenly, they miss you. Suddenly, they hope you're okay. What they really hope is that the old version of you is still alive somewhere, but you know better now. You answer with silence, or you answer with boundaries so firm they feel like a wall. Either way, the message is the same. I'm not that person anymore. You're not the place they can come and unload guilt on. You're not the heart they can run to after they drained everyone else. You're not the safe haven for people who set your house on fire. That's what monsters do now. They don't chase closure. They close doors. They lock them. They secure them, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You finally understand that if your trust is gold, you don't just throw it in everyone's hands and act surprised when they steal it. This is what they don't get. You didn't want to become this. You wanted to stay soft. You wanted to believe in forever. You wanted to believe that if you were solid, they'd be solid too. But life and people and patterns, they taught you different. The monster you are now isn't a costume. It's armor. It's the layer that sits between your heart and anyone who thinks they can play with it like a toy. Will people misunderstand you now? Absolutely. They will say you're cold because you don't overshare. They will say you're arrogant because you don't chase. They will say you're rude because you say no without writing essays. Let them. If they wanted access to the softer version of you, they should have treated the old one like it mattered. You're not here to keep proving that you're a good person. Your actions already proved that. How you loved already proved that. How you forgave already proved that. Now your job is not to keep proving your heart. It's to protect it, to guard it like something sacred, because it is. In the end, that's the real monster move. Not screaming, not exploding, not getting even, but building a life so quiet, so aligned, so peaceful, that they no longer have a seat at the table they once took for granted. Let them remember you as the one who changed. Let them tell people you turned dark. Let them say you became heartless. You and I both know the truth. You didn't lose your heart. You stopped giving it to people who treat it like it's replaceable. You became the monster they forced you to be when they broke your trust. A guardian of your own energy, a protector of your own soul, a defender of your own peace. And from this point on, anyone who wants a place in your life doesn't just get your love. They earn your trust. And if they play with it, they don't get another chance to meet the soft you. They only get to watch from a distance while the monster they created walks forward, alone if needed, but powerful, awake, and never again blind to the cost of misplaced loyalty.